We made this video about the Toronto Maple Leafs a few days ago. We asked if this was the end of an era. But now we are having the same conversation with the Tampa Bay Lightning, because they just got eliminated in the 2024 Stanley Cup playoffs with a 4-1 series loss at the hands of their little brother, the Florida Panthers. Game 5 was a doozy for Tampa Bay Lightning fans, a 6-1 victory for Florida. And look, you could have all the conversations you want about goaltender interference, should it have been a goal, should it not have been. I get it, hockey is a game of momentum 75% of the time. Momentum can change the entire course of a game. It can give a team life. It can give a team power. But look, man, all momentum talk aside, even if that goal counted, the Lightning would have still lost 6-2. Now, I get it. It's not exactly like that. Oh, if the Lightning just had that goal kept on the board, then maybe the entire rest of the 6-2 score would not have gone the way it had, because the third period was an absolute travesty for Tampa Bay. 4 straight goals, all within the span of 6 minutes. Sure, 2 of them were empty net goals, Carter Verhaeghe and Nico Mikkola both sealing the deal, giving the Panthers a 6-1 lead. But ultimately, the Tampa Bay Lightning could not hang, and that was an issue. You could also talk about the production of guys on the Lightning from this game, because stepping out of the series and into the score sheet, you had yourselves a bunch of guys that produced significant points. Of course, the Florida guys were really going out there and making damage known. Matthew Tkachuk and Carter Verhaeghe each had 9 points in 5 games. Just an outstanding performance out of these guys. And then if you go over to the Tampa side of things, Nikita Kucherov had 7 points, so did Victor Hedman. Kucherov had 0 goals, but who cares if he's going out there getting over an assist a game? The Tampa Bay Lightning, though, were carried throughout their regular season by these 2 guys in terms of point production. You could also say that Point and Stamkos had significant hands at that as well. But with all this in mind, I wanted to go out there and talk about the pending UFA to be, a guy whom the broadcast would absolutely not shut up about. Yeah, we get it. He's an expiring UFA. We know his contract is expiring, and that there is a chance that he decides to go into the offseason not as a member of Tampa Bay. The question of this video is very simple. What does the future hold for Steven Stamkos? Is this the end of an era? Is this the final season for Stammer in Tampa Bay? Now, a year ago, okay, maybe not a year ago, 9 months ago, a baby ago, in the September-October period of the season, we had ourselves word that Stamkos was really frustrated with the Tampa Bay Lightning, because he would be heading into the final year of his $8.5 million AAV contract at 33, turning 34 years old, without an extension. He made it very clear to the media he wanted an extension. It was something that he valued to be able to guarantee his future with the team, but the Lightning stood pat. They said, okay, we understand your frustration, but we cannot commit right now. We need to see how this team performs in 23-24. We need to see what pieces we have available to us. We need to decide who's worth keeping around and who's not. And having you as a guaranteed contract on our books for the next, let's say, potentially 5 to 8 years will make things more difficult for us to do that. So we'll wait until the offseason, and only after that will we actually consider re-signing you. It's not a matter of if you're good or not, or if you're bad, if you're washed or whatever. It's just a matter of we have a lot of work to do, and not having your contract set in stone makes it easier for us. So with Steven Stamkos' frustration being put out there, with the Tampa Bay Lightning standing pat, with the fact that he still has an expiring contract, there was no extension signed just yet, the question remains, after Steven Stamkos' 23-24, was this the last time we'll ever see him play in a Lightning sweater? He had 81 points in 79 games played, 6 points in 5 games in the postseason. He was a goal-a-game guy in the playoffs this year. Pretty good, not gonna lie. But will we see any more of this? Now, we did have ourselves a few conversations as to whether or not teams like Montreal or Detroit could be a part of this. I'm just reusing the thumbnail from the old video because it's a pretty interesting narrative. I mean, everybody talks about, oh yeah, the Canadiens could go after free agents like Stamkos. And then there was that Detroit connection because it's like, yeah, Steve Yzerman is the guy in Motown. Maybe there could be some sort of a reunion there because Derek Lalonde and everybody else. And so Stamkos going over to either of these two teams would warm my heart because, you know, I'm a fan of both of them. But ultimately, if I was a betting man, which I'm not, but if I was, I'd probably place all of my money on the likelihood of Stamkos staying in Tampa Bay, right? Like, I think that's the majority of people's opinions here. I don't think anybody's really expecting him to leave, per se, but the fact is, you can't ignore that the options are there. Stamkos could very well sign an extension with Tampa Bay tomorrow, and everybody will go away and just stop bugging the guy about this. But the longer this drags out, the longer the Lightning refuse to say, here's the contract, sign it now, Stammer, the longer this drags, the more and more people will talk. Because Stamkos is still a good player. Sure, he's in his mid-30s now, but he still has value as an NHL goal scorer, a one-time option on that left side on the power play who can absolutely blast missiles. And sure, while it's not all too projectable that he's able to be that good for however many years he'll sign a contract for after this season, there still is value in the short term for any team that is looking to remain competitive, or a team that's nearly on the edge of playoff contention that wants to get that one piece to push them over the edge. Just hypothesizing here, but if Steven Stamkos was a Red Wing this season, let's say he gets 30 more goals for Detroit and 30 more assists for the Red Wings, that's automatically like another 2-3 games won, I would say. And that helps out the team making the playoffs against Washington and Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and hopefully not getting swept by the Rangers like the real Capitals did. But there are options here for Steven Stamkos to maybe take himself a contract that guarantees him a top spot on a team that needs him the most. Either he goes over to a team that's already good, like Tampa Bay, that already has a bunch of stars, or he tries to take his talents elsewhere and becomes more of an important figure. Not saying that he's not important on Tampa, but I'm just saying, if Steven Stamkos is not on Tampa next year, they still have Point, Kucherov, Hedman, and everybody else doing really well. Brendan Hagel is so good. There are other guys that you could debate could fill in some of these roles for cheaper dollar amounts. Steven Stamkos might not be the most necessary guy to keep around at this point, but that's just me spitting. You can let me know your thoughts in the comments as to whether or not I'm wrong or not. So if you're a fan of any of these extra teams, the Wings, the Canadiens, do you think that Steven Stamkos has played his last game as a member of the Lightning? Heck, you don't even need to be a Canadiens or a Red Wings fan to answer that question. Is this the case here? For Tampa Bay fans, what are your opinions about this? I'm saying thoroughly with all of my belief that I feel like Stamkos will re-sign in Tampa, but that's just my guessing, predicting going on here. I'm not Nostradamus or anybody, so if I get that wrong and he ends up going to some other team, then hey, I'll gladly eat my words and make a video and talk about the new situation for Stamkos and whether or not it's actually a good idea for the team that's acquiring him and for Stamkos himself. I mean, look, the guy's very good, so he'll probably get paid in the offseason, but when it comes to which team is going to be giving him that money, there are some interesting thoughts going around as to whether or not that will be Tampa. So, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Steven Stamkos era, whether or not this loss to the Florida Panthers 4-1 series, 6-1 Game 5 performance, whether or not this was the end of an era in Tampa Bay of Steven Stamkos and his long career. Where does he go next season? Where does he take his talents? How much is his dollar amount? And is there any animosity if it's not in Tampa? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.